On July the 8th, we've got the next iteration coming from the Dunk Low line, and this one's called the Laser Orange, but what sets this one apart is that it goes under the women's title, and we did that recently with these guys right here. They called them the Panda, the Dunk High Pandas, or Black and Whites, whichever they want to look at it, but that too was a women's sneaker, and it seems like there's an awful lot of women's sneakers rolling off the production lines these days in a lot of different places, so it's not a surprise to see the Dunk Low line coming along with this, the beautiful Laser Orange from the women's line, to go with the rest of the ones that are out there right now. But this guy it's kind of like the classic Dunk. It's got the two-tone effect going on. It reminds a lot of people of the Syracuse out there as well, but there are some unique details on it, and it's especially nice for me to be able to do this when you look at the line of Dunks that we've looked at in the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Most of them have come in the high form. We had the Kebab and Destroy, we had the 277s, and like I said, we had those black and white pandas as well. So it's nice to be back down to the low silhouette instead of the high guys. But yes, it's still a women's sneaker out there. So we're going to get into that today, have a little look at the sneaker, look at the different places on it that make it a very, very clean iteration from that Dunk line. But we're also going to get into Air Jordan 1 lows today a little bit, because I've got something about that at the back end of this video. But let's start it off having a look at this guy here and taking it apart bit by bit. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the lateral side first and look at that line that I always talk about. Every single Dunk video I do, I always pay attention to this line right here, and these days it helps to have these guys here. Is that the Mystic Green, which wasn't a women's, I don't know if it was Mystic Green, it might be something else, but the point is that the back end of that sneaker had the green round about the ankle area, but the front end it was black, and that was unusual in those guys, because coming back to today's guys, you can see that line that runs from toe up quarter line, across laces, and down the ankle, and the heel is a kind of classic colorway line on the Dunks and Dunk Lows especially, and that's very much intact on this shoe. They're not playing around with it at all. They're keeping that standard sort of style, standard silhouette, and standard two-tone color blocking. And I say two-tone because sometimes Dunks come in a three-tone color blocking, and usually what happens with that is it's a white midsole, and then the upper is not white in either of its two main sort of sections. But these guys right here, you can see the toe and the midfoot are white to match that white midsole, and then the outsole is in that laser orange, and the rest of the upper is in that laser orange. So it's very much your classic two-tone sort of up your two-tone Dunk sneaker, but it is a women's for some reason. I've never been able to work this out. I mean, I have had this channel for well over 3 years now. I've been into sneakers for a very, very long time, and I've never really got a straight answer about why a shoe would be women's and not women's. And the closest I can get to think about it is that women's size runs are slightly different from men's size runs, and they'll sell it in the women's size runs. But I wonder if there's also something to do with the construction, like the bridge of the foot or something along those lines. But I've never really understood it. I've always thought, you know, why not just put out the general sizes, and then, you know, whoever's foot fits the shoe, they go ahead and buy it. It's kind of the way I sit with that one. But, you know, that's not my job. I'm not an employee of Nike, and I don't have the power to change the way they distribute their sneakers, but what I do have the power to do is to talk about them, and this one is a very, very, very fine sneaker. So so looking at it from afar, and those big sort of large sort of sections that you have on there, and the big view of the shoe, a very classic Dunk Low style, with that line, like I say, that runs through it. And I suppose we better also sort of just drop onto the swoosh very quickly, because that's the other laser orange part of this shoe in the upper, where you've got the swoosh on the side in that standard colorway, and then getting off of that and getting on to the branding side of things. Branding is kind of playing a big part of the channel these days when we're talking about the position of branding, and also to do with the kind of decisions that they go with, where they put the colors on the branding. And especially with this shoe, I was kind of really aware of the three main branding points being tongue, insole, and heel, and all of them basically have the same structure to their branding, which is kind of unusual. Sometimes they flip it around, and the easiest way to look at that would be down onto the insoles. One part there that you need to be looking at is the lining of these guys in that laser orange to give that sort of full, complete look. But I'm more interested in the branding on the tongue and on the insole. So it's easiest first to look at the insole and see that that is in orange, or laser orange I should say, with white branding on it, and that's the pattern that's repeated on the tongue and on the heels, which is a surprise to me. So white branding orange background, and then you bring that forward onto the tongues, and you can see the tongues themselves are white, but the branding panel itself is orange, and then the branding on that is white, so it's still white branding, orange background on there. And it's worth sort of stopping here to point out the branding on the top of the tongue, which says Nike swoosh and nothing else, which tells you very easily that these are not part of the SB line. It would have an SB up there, Nike swoosh SB, if it was part of the SB or the SB Pros line. So these guys are just a straight up Nike Dunk Low, and you can tell that from the branding on there. And then if we flip them around and have a look at the back of these guys, it's exactly the same sort of structure to the branding on the back. You've got an orange branding panel, and then embroidered within that you've got the white Nike branding. And of course, being a Dunk Low, they can't fit the branding in the branding panel. It's sort of slightly lopsided because of that small bit of real estate that they've got to work with to fit that little bit of branding on the back there. But the more important thing than the size of the branding panel, whether it fits in or not, is the fact that the stitching and the embroidery is in white and it's on an orange branding panel, and that is repeated in the tongues and in the insoles. Orange background, white branding. And like I said, they'd often flip that out. If we go back and have a look at the tongues and the insoles, it's not unusual to see, for example, an orange insole with white branding, and then you go to the tongue and see white tongue with orange branding, so they invert that around. But in the case of these guys, all three spots, tongue, insole and heel, orange background, white branding on them. And then the last sort of detail to look at the shoe before we get into those Air Jordan 1 lows that I was talking about is to flip them upside down and have a look at that very solid outsole that's in all laser orange, and especially in the middle of that, the branding panel in the center that just says Nike swoosh again without having that SB on there. Often SBs, that panel in the middle would be a different color to the outsole as well, but you can see here it's all laser orange and the branding is just Nike swoosh, so it's not an SB again. And then back out looking at the whole shoe, very, very clean. The materials are beautiful leathers on these guys. It's a really beautifully constructed Nike Dunk Low. Very well worth going out there and getting your hands on them if they come in your size. Now, I haven't seen these here in Japan on the sneakers app yet. I'm here in Tokyo, Japan, and it hasn't come around on the sneakers app yet. But for some reason, the upcoming sneakers on my sneakers app, there's only 4 of them, which is pretty unusual. Usually there's about 12 or 15 different sneakers on there upcoming, but there's only 4. So maybe these guys on July the 8th are going to come up on the sneaker app here in Tokyo, Japan sometime soon. But a great looking sneaker. Hopefully, if you're interested, you'll dig into the pockets and grab yourself a pair when it comes around on July the 8th. Now back to those Jordan 1 lows that I was talking about. I wanted to sort of end this video. I've been talking about this a lot on the channel recently, that we basically flipped everything around and trying to keep the chat for the end and put all the details on the shoe at the front. Hopefully that makes people more interested in the shoes and you're focused on the shoe first and then the chat second. And in the case of today's video, that second chat is all about the Air Jordan 1 lows. I did the Shadow 3.0s. Hopefully I can put those up behind me here, and it really got me thinking about Jordan 1 lows and how I need to get my hands on a pair and trying to decide which colorway I want to try and get my hands on and go after. I think that this could be a shoe. I've never owned a pair of Jordan 1 lows, so it could be a shoe that I really become a go-to shoe on. I've been focused on Adidas for a long time now, especially with the Boost line, but I'm trying to sort of edge my way out of that and get into a sort of broader spectrum in my shoes. The Jordan 1 lows are really catching my eye right now, so if you guys out there know of any particular colorways that are really iconic from the Jordan 1 low line, definitely hit me up with a comment down below. Give me a recommendation about where you think the best place to go hunting for shoes is and which Jordan 1 low silhouette, not silhouette, the Jordan 1 low colorway will do me best to try and get my hands on, because it's like I say, it's a shoe I'm very interested in getting my hands on. So so that's kind of the chat, the channel, the latest update, things that are going on there. Maybe do a video about that, the Jordan 1 lows. There's a street in Japan here that is just all these sneaker shops kind of all lined up one after the other. Could be a good video to do as we hunt through them for that Jordan 1 low that I want to get my hands on. But for now, we're finishing up this video instead of thinking about the videos that are coming down the line, and we just need to wrap this one up another video for the day. I haven't done the count for a while, and I did say that once I've got closer to 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube, I'd start a counter somewhere going off. So I would guess we're around about 940 days, so 60 days away from 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube without a single day missed. Looking forward to getting to that milestone, and also the 2,000 subscribers milestone. But for now, it's time just to wrap up this video and thank you guys for checking out the content. And I'll say that same thing that I say at the end of every single video, which is that I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.